So what do? Is they cart all these white monkeys, more or less.
And the people that are participating in this, willingly or maybe unwittingly, just how low their morals are. It's dumb. And they use useful idiots, foreigners on YouTube. The influencers were willing to gloat and show their narcissistic selfie pictures. So far, it means that he is incredibly insensitive and it's just really the wrong time.
Or it was part of the contract. He is our friend.
Yeah.
This is not...
No, absolutely.
Not an attack, guys.
Don't need to keep defending. Actions speak louder than words, dude.
Hey guys, how's it going? I know you were supposed to be getting an interesting video of me and Jim going through a Chinese village here in Ningbo, showing his photos and sort of going through like a bit of a photo diary. It is a very interesting episode, but I'm going to have to push it back into after this one. But unfortunately, I have to make this video that is debunking some falsehoods and misrepresentations that have been assumed on me and a few of my friends on YouTube from another YouTube channel. I really don't like to make these types of videos. This isn't... I try to consider myself a bit above the fray. I let my videos sort of speak for themselves. I do not like singling out anybody or anything. But I was basically named in another YouTuber's video, and it really requires me to kind of come out and clear the air because there's a lot of misinformation there. Some of you may know Matt and Winston. Matt's Laowhy86 and Winston is SerpentZA. I've known them for a long, long time. Consider Winston a friend. Matt, I don't know very much. Met him a couple of times, but Winston, I've shared a chat. I've even made some videos with him. We make videos that are different. We have definitely a different perception of the world. I have opinions on a lot of his videos, but it's up to you as a viewer to interpret his videos the way that you're going to interpret his, and mine the way you're going to interpret mine. I always thought that stripped of all YouTube and career, if I walked into a bar and sat down and Winston was sitting next to me, we'd have a pretty lively conversation. just like anybody, I think you could boil, if you take away a lot of the crazy differences we have, we would find that we're probably a lot more similar than not. But unfortunately, they posted a video where they used my tweets and conversations and trip to Chongqing, among my other friends, as a figurehead for calling us all manner of sellouts and shills and white monkeys and whatnot.
So what do? Is they cart all these white monkeys, more or less.
And the people that are participating in this, willingly or maybe unwittingly, just how low their morals are. It's dumb. And they use useful idiots, foreigners on YouTube. The influencers were willing to gloat and show their narcissistic selfie pictures. So far, it means that he is incredibly insensitive and it's just really the wrong time.
Or it was part of the contract. He is our friend.
Yeah.
This is not...
No, absolutely.
Not an attack, guys.
Don't need to keep defending. Actions speak louder than words, dude. So
sheesh, I think if I was to not address those things and just let their interpretation of what I did fly, it just wouldn't work, because I made 2 videos that were off the timeline, that were at the Three Gorges Dam, and I made a live stream and I made 2 videos. I made those videos after my Chongqing experience, and they're separate. But because this whole flooding stuff in China is, and people are actually thinking that the Three Gorges Dam has collapsed, not everybody, but there is a segment of the population that is promoting the fact that the Three Gorges Dam is on imminent collapse. I felt like because I was in Chongqing, which is a province away from the Three Gorges Dam, it might behoove me to go and take a look for myself. If the dam's about to collapse, I'll show you. I will say this. If that dam was about to collapse and 100 million plus people were downstream unwittingly waiting for this catastrophe of almost biblical proportions. I mean, it would be 100+ million people affected, maybe a million dead. I don't know. It all depends on how prepared China would be to let everybody know what was coming. If that was the case, this is just my perception of me going to the dam. If that was the case, first of all, I don't think we would have been able to visit the dam. It would have been on lockdown. China would have been secretly doing everything it could to prevent this dam from breaking. Secondly, if we were to be able to go to the dam, it would be swarming with engineers and technicians and laborers building reinforcements for the dam. I mean, there's also a comment that the dam cannot be repaired, and maybe in a lot of ways it can't be repaired, but it was built. It was kind of an amazing build, actually. There's a lot of documentaries I watched on it. They build these huge, like, coffer dams in front of the dam or area, and then they built the dam, like huge walls of concrete that's come up from the bedrock. You know, amazing build. Regardless of the environmental impact, the relocation of people, all of that I address in the videos as much as I can in a short 20-minute video. I wish I could have addressed more. There's a dark side to that dam, but it's here now. It's here now. It's not protecting from flooding as much as they had thought, but it's here now, and the people that are operating the dam are doing what they think they have to do, and the dams all around China, to try to mitigate as much as they can. Not trying to downplay the mitigations that might be in one person's mind. Might be horrific. You know, let's flood this village or city and save this other one. That's a horrible thing, and it's horrible. Flooding is a natural, horrible thing. Happens in America, happens all around the world. In fact, this flooding season attacked Thailand, I think, India. There's been flooding all over. The water, actually, that feeds the Yangtze River comes over India in a lot of ways, and Pakistan. Anyways, I wanted to go to the dam. There was security there for bomb threats, but there was no teams of engineers that I could see. There was no crazy warping that people had seen on those Google Map views. And that's what I showed. That's it. The trip to the dam in Hubei province was something that the guy on that talk show I do, the China Let's Talk China, his name's Lee Barrett, and his son Oli Barrett. He contacted me. He says, "Hey, Matt, I heard you're interested in going to the dam. I would like to go to the dam too. I'd like to see it for myself. Partly because I want to see what state it's in and report whatever state it is. And second, because I really am impressed by, like, these huge, epic undertakings of human ingenuity, making, Three Gorges Dam, or, some amazing, like even the Great Wall of China is an amazing thing. There's so many really epic projects that go on in the world. And he's like, I'd really like to see this dam. And so we went to the dam after the end of my iChongqing trip. It was separate, paid for by me and Lee and Oli, I suppose. And that was it. We traveled 4 hours by fast train at 195 kilometers an hour, 4 or 5 hours to a different province, Yichang. And from there, we rented a car and got a guide that would take us to the dam because it's a tourist area, not a CCP arranged hit job propaganda piece. Coincidentally, Yichang, the city we were at, was horrifically flooded. You could look up videos of Yichang flooding in July. And I was prepared to tell the story of what Yichang looked like today. Good or bad. Turns out I sat along the banks of the Yangtze, and in the beginning of that video, you wouldn't see me in July. I would have been covered up with water all the way to the top banks of that Yangtze River, if not over, and cars would have been flooded everywhere. We drove around the city. We didn't see anything. Their B-roll in that video of me going to the restaurant looks pretty ambiguous, because it is. It was riding through a typical city in China. They recovered from the flood pretty heartily, and that's what I showed. I would have liked to have gone to some of those villages that were flooded out, but I had nobody. I tried to reach out to a couple of people, but I wasn't able to. If anybody out there has the ability to show me some of those places, I would be more than happy to share the stories from those places. I'm not trying to build a narrative. The narrative presents itself in front of my camera. Anyways, so those videos came out. I have like almost a half dozen videos of more than that, of my time in Chongqing that are coming up. And so I must make sure that you guys understand why I took the trip, how I took the trip, and also what lies were told about me in this video, because I know that their videos get a lot of traction. And if they pervert the view of what I did in Chongqing with my other YouTuber friends, then it'll put all my future videos about Chongqing that are coming up very soon out of context. And I'll tell you what, guys, they're very cool videos. I'm very excited to share them. They got some great drone footage. They are really, really, I had a great time in Chongqing. And so I wanted to share those videos and show those experiences without this kind of muddled context that was not true. So we'll work sort of one claim at a time. I don't want to show clips from their video, but I will leave their link in the description below, so you can watch it. I'm not ashamed in a lot of ways. I've been receiving some crazy hate from people, and they're sort of like, I gotcha, I gotcha on this news, or I gotcha on this point. Honestly, a lot of the crazy hit jobs, you'd say, or analysis of me and what I've done, I still stand beside even even in their hit form or in their analysis form, I still stand beside them. So just one person's going to interpret it one way and the other's going to interpret the other way. Anyways, but I'm talking about this video. My opinions of Matt and Winston are mine. And they're in here. And I'm not interested in smearing them. So this is not the first of a series of videos. You watch their videos and you come to their conclusion, or you watch mine and you come to mine. We do disagree and differ in opinions. And that's okay. That's what makes the world go around. And I don't want to censor them. I just want to set the record straight, because a lot of what they said was interpreted really wrongly. Okay. So they first talk about my trip with iChongqing. Before I talk about iChongqing, because it's really important, you need to know how that trip was created, why you're seeing a lot of videos of people in Chongqing, YouTubers in Chongqing. It's a lot because of a guy named Alex from Reportify Media. He's a guy that hosts Let's Talk China show, most of them, and he's a good guy. All of these people are good people. Even the people, like I said, if you strip away a lot of the rhetoric and just look at it, whatever. Alex went on around Christmas this year to Chongqing on vacation. He paid for his ticket. He went there for fun. He wanted to do something interesting with his wife, so he went to Chongqing. He's a traveler, and he loves the places that he goes. And one of the ways that he finds more out about places is he does research. He had sent out a couple of feeler emails to the only English-speaking sort of website in Chongqing. Said, "I'm coming. Got any places I could go?" They didn't reply until he got to Chongqing. But when he got to Chongqing, he got an email, or he got a message. "Hey, yeah, come on by. We'll show you around." He went to the offices of iChongqing, and he met Catherine. Catherine is the owner of iChongqing. Hi, Catherine. Hope you don't have to watch this. This is kind of a Debbie Downer video. So Catherine asked, what would you like to see in Chongqing? And started to weave a tale. Catherine loves her city. She loves Chongqing. She's born and raised. She knows a lot about it. She's not government employee. She's just a citizen who really, really likes Chongqing. She likes it so much that she decided to create a company that promotes tourism. Out of her love of the city, she's like, I want to create something that'll bring Chongqing to the international audience because I love my city. I'd like to share it with the world. Anyway, she started up iChongqing on her own to help promote Chongqing to the international audience. And now she's meeting with Alex. The company's fairly new. It's only 2 years old. She started it just a couple of years ago. And Alex and her are sitting down, and Alex says, there's not a lot of really cool videos on YouTube about Chongqing. You should invite some YouTubers here to promote the city. Make it like sort of a part of your plan, part of your way to promote Chongqing. And she says, wow, that's a good idea. I don't know where to start. So Alex says, I'll help you. And so he composed this idea to invite YouTubers to Chongqing. iChongqing would cover the expenses when you got to Chongqing. They gave you a little food allowance. It was really quite cool. The way that it worked is Alex gave a list of people, YouTubers he knew that he thought would represent the city well. By this list, through WeChat messages, iChongqing reaches out to all of us. And let me tell you how cool it was. They reach out to me, and they say, hey, Matt, with Alex in the conversation all the time, because he's kind of helping. Says, I hear you'd like to come to Chongqing. Yeah, it would be great. We have a few dates available. Maybe not a good idea to come during the middle of flood season, but you can come after we have some times open. I said, okay. I kind of was personally interested in coming during the flood just to kind of get an idea what a city like that goes through during a flood like that. But I understood their objective as a tourism agency, just like a tourism agency anywhere in the world, promoting Las Vegas, promoting Texas, Austin, promoting London. And so they said, you can come down this date and this date. What would you like to do? We could visit this place. This place gave me some ideas. My wife Annie gave me some ideas. I came at them and I said, I would like to do this and this and this and this. And they said, sure. So it wasn't a pre-scripted, action-packed, drive us into the ground trip. It was an open-ended, enjoy your time in Chongqing, share the true story. There were no limitations on content. They didn't say, well, you can come, but you can't talk about the CCP. Well, you can come, but you cannot talk about this. Well, you can come, but you cannot talk about flooding. None of that. Then I brought up the fact that I'd like to go to the Three Gorges Dam. It's been in the news a lot, and I wanted to lay my eyes on it. I've been to North Korea. I was able to look at North Korea and take it in with my own eyes and then judge it for myself. In my mind, that's the most important way to see a place. So I said Three Gorges Dam. They said, I don't know. There's a lot going on in the dam, the flooding and everything. It all depends on timing. Okay. That was when Lee kind of came in and said, hey, Matt, if you're going to the dam, I'd like to go with you. So anyways, why am I telling it to you this way? The context on how iChongqing constructed this trip is very important, because in the video from ADV, they talk about a number of things. But one of the things is the primary focus is a letter that they displayed, an email that they received from iChongqing inviting them to Chongqing. Their argument or reasoning was...
So what do is they cart all these white monkeys, more or less, to be useful idiots for them to go, shut up, Western propaganda, stupid Western media. Everything's totally fine here, because that's exactly what transpired. Because what this serves to do, if you think about it, it serves to take eyes off of the problem.
Yeah.
Matt and his crew, or friends, are going to Chongqing to shill for the CCP while there's flooding in order to distract from the carnage going on in the flooding by going to Chongqing and making happy-go-lucky videos during all of this carnage of the flooding. And that iChongqing, invited us to the same event.
I know that the tourism board has you guys all on a big promo trip. I have the invitation email.
See, here's the email that we received. But we wouldn't go even if they invited us. And there's a lot of other points I want to talk about, but the email here is a real focus. iChongqing never sent an email out to them. And I feel like the people at iChongqing don't deserve to be treated this way. They aren't what they're being painted to be. Most certainly, they didn't send the email. I talked to the owner of iChongqing. First of all, she says she didn't send an email. Secondly, I've never received an email. We talked through WeChat. We talked through Alex. So there would be no reason for iChongqing to send an email to you guys, because at that time you weren't in China. Alex knew you weren't in China. You don't like a lot of us. And so why would Alex even throw your name out there to say, hey, you should invite Matt and Winston? It just didn't happen. So, okay. So if this email was contrived and faked, it can only mean two things. One, somebody sent Winston and Matt a fake email from iChongqing inviting them for a tourism trip in Chongqing, or it was created in order to build a narrative that they're too good to go to Chongqing and shill for the Chinese government. Even the wording of the email is suspect. I'll read you some. Hope everything is well with yours. I am blank from iChongqing, and then the web address. Coincidentally, the web address here is different from the web address they use in the fictitious sign-off signature, but that's just another thing. Anyways, we are the official Chongqing International Communications Center for Culture and Tourism, and we are very impressed with your videos. This email wasn't written by iChongqing, but it was written by somebody who wanted to promote the message that we were going there on a government-backed official trip. Why? I don't know. You decide for yourself. We are very impressed with your videos. I find that interesting that you would write that. If you guys did in fact write that, whatever. We would like to take this opportunity to reach out and ask you if you'd be interested in collaborating together to promote Chinese culture. While, of course, there would be some restrictions on certain sensitive topics, we would be more than happy to help arrange everything you would need to travel and to film in Chongqing. All expenses will be paid, and we can discuss long-term cooperation. A bunch of stuff here. All expenses will be paid to travel and film in Chongqing. Well, all expenses weren't paid. We flew to Chongqing. There was a stipend for certain things, for food. We were treated to the different events that we did in Chongqing, so there was no out-of-pocket cost there. But we weren't hounded, and we weren't told to go, like, we weren't ordered so specifically. It was very casual. And there was a lot of things that I did on my own dime. So, no. And the dam trip that was separate from this was our dime. We paid for that completely, 100%. Had nothing to do with iChongqing.
While, of course, there would be some restriction on certain sensitive topics, we would be more than happy to help arrange everything you would need to travel to and film in Chongqing.
Never said that, guys. That was never even on the table. They gave us carte blanche to go to Chongqing and just talk about what we saw and what we did. There would only be one reason why that line would be written, and it would be to build a narrative that every trip that is officially government-backed is controlled by the CCP, and we can't have our own voices. We're literally told by the organizers that you cannot say certain things. I've had a lot of trips. I've gone to a lot of places all over China. Some of them tours, like tourism stuffs. Some of them, maybe more official. I've been on official trips, too. Just shown a place, because they want to show it to us. And I've never been told, well, of course, there would be some restriction on sensitive topics. I'm not saying that isn't in the boilerplate of a lot of trips that might be put together maybe by more official sources, or, you can't talk about this, but I've never been told that. So, yeah, that's strange that this email that was created is very pointed in a certain direction to create a very specific narrative that is not true, mind you. Chongqing is the largest municipality in southwest China with more than 30 million known, all of this sort of boilerplate kind of stuff about Chongqing. I understand you're quite busy, so I would like to thank you in advance for reading this email, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Warm regards, iChongqing, and again, the web address, which is written without the www dot. It's literally just chongqing.info, whereas earlier it was www dot. So I think that most times a tourism board probably puts this website and they keep it pretty standardized. And I don't know. There's just a lot of red flags there. The chief one being the fact that iChongqing says they never sent this email. And so this email was presented in this podcast in order to paint a picture that we were on an official trip, most likely to cover up the flooding damage that was going on, and they received an invite too, but they turned it down.
I know that the tourism board has you guys all on a big promo trip. I have the invitation email. It's quite common. We also received the email because, this is the thing. They're not that connected. Sometimes they send it to me. Sometimes they send it to you. Sometimes they send it to ADB China.
It's not true. Now, I talked to Catherine again. I actually asked her right away, the owner. I said, hey, did you invite these two guys to Chongqing? Because they're kind of talking about it quite a bit. And she said, no. We only invited the people that Alex told us about. I said, well, they're saying that you did. They're actually showing an email from you guys. And I showed it to her. And so she was very confused. She's like, I don't understand why they're doing this. it was a very sad conversation because sad just because she really loves Chongqing, and she was like, I just own a tourism company. I don't understand. She was. I actually had to get on the phone with her and describe that there's a narrative out there that everything that is done in China is done with a purpose to paint this or do this. She's like, well, I own a tourism company. My job is to show the city I love in the best way I can to the world. That's why I made iChongqing. I don't understand why is this even necessary? I says, I don't know. I says, I think it's better that you put out a message and clear the air, because they're kind of sullying the name of iChongqing and making it some sort of state-owned entity with sort of nefarious motivations. So, okay, thanks. And shortly thereafter, they had to issue a tweet retraction saying, we never sent this email, to them. So, yeah, that email is sort of the large tip of a iceberg, but it is very odd. There were things that I took issue with in that episode of the podcast before I realized that email was fake, before I had confirmed it with the owner of iChongqing. Again, guys, I try and give as much of the benefit of the doubt as possible. So I'm not going to say that you wrote that email out of whole cloth, specifically to create some sort of a narrative that we went there to, distract from the floods, or that we're part of some sort of communist Chinese plot to obfuscate in the face of mortal peril. But if somebody gave you that email, if somebody contacted you from a fictitious iChongqing entity and sent you that email, I think you need to check your spam email box, because that's pretty messed up. You might need to check your sources before you go off on the rails and you start defaming people, especially when you were using it to castigate all of us. But that wasn't the end. That's just the beginning. Because after that contact, email, or whatever, we didn't receive your email, we went to Chongqing. We were all scheduled. We all went. We had preset schedules, for just specific loose places that we wanted to go, but we were really excited. A couple of my friends went before me, and they reported back that, it was a great time, and you're going to love it, and the city is beautiful. And the city is beautiful. Sorry, it is. And that's why I'm making some amazing videos, because that city is beautiful. Really nice. And I shared it. And even in their video, they talked about how Winston went to Chongqing a long time ago, and Matt, and they laughingly joked about how the email, fictitious email, said that
Chongqing boasts bumpy terrains. What is that? That's a perk?
Yeah.
A wealth of water reserves?
Yeah.
Mineral resources and dense forests. Last time I was in Chongqing, I didn't see a whole lot of forest.
No.
Chongqing has bumpy terrain and forests, and they laughed about it. Haha, bumpy, that's a funny word to use. I use the word undulating quite a bit. It is very undulating there. It's beautiful. And they said forests, I don't know. They probably don't have a lot of forests. It's just a couple of trees they mentioned in there. And you guys can listen to it. I'm not, please, listen to their video. They say it. I'm not making up stuff that they're saying. They said something about the trees and how there's forests in Chongqing. Well, I did a zip line across two peaks in Chongqing proper, right outside. There's a lot of trees. There's a lot of beautiful forests in Chongqing. Even in the reference to the city itself, they were sort of condescending.
I have to tell everyone what Chongqing is.
Yeah, okay.
Chongqing is one of the biggest cities in the world, and it was created by basically displacing an entire area of Sichuan, and it created its own megacity. It's like 30 million people, and they're pushing super hard for investment in tourism.
Yes.
Continue.
I mean,
Matt refers to Chongqing before they start talking. He's like, I really need to tell you about Chongqing. And he says, Chongqing is the largest city in the world, and it was created by displacing an entire area of Sichuan. And they created its own megacity by grouping many rural villages, and they're pushing super hard for investment in tourism. Continue, he says. He wanted to inject that. And it's a lot in tone, right? The word displacing can mean to take over, but I think when you say displace, like flooding victims were displaced from their homes is a very common thing, especially right now with the flooding in China, which is horrible, mind you. But displacement, you typically think of a hardship impressed upon you and you were sort of taken over. I don't know. I think the uses of words that they use is telling. I know, guys, you cater to a specific audience and you have a specific message. But you say Chongqing was created by displacing an entire area of Sichuan and has created its own megacity by grouping many rural villages, and they're pushing super hard for investment in tourism. Isn't any city pushing super hard for tourism and investment? I don't see how that's a bad thing. Cities all over the world push hard for tourism and investment. I grew up in Detroit. Detroit is pushing hard for tourism and investment. Las Vegas, pushing hard for tourism and investment. Fort Lauderdale, I lived in for a little while, pushing hard for tourism and investment. Any place that has the ability to entertain tourists is going to push hard for tourism and going to look for investment. Anyways, things that ordinarily wouldn't be a big deal are referred to as like sort of like bombshells. Anyways, they discussed my tweets and they blacked out my name. They left my words, obviously, and they blacked out some of the pictures, but they actually left my friend Alex Absolute. You could see his shirt in the photos they blacked out, but they left his shirt. They just cut out his face and his hand. If you guys know Alex Absolute, you know that showing his shirt is a bit like showing his fingerprint. He has the funniest shirts. He's got a shirt that he goes around with that says, "I am not a vlogger." He's holding a camera. It's the funniest thing. He's got a ton of shirts. His shirt game is on point. Anyways, that was just a small thing. I'm not, whatever. But they said that Matt retweeted a state media post. And then it really got a bit twisted. Winston starts talking about my messages back and forth because he commented on the tweet that I made that I said something like, "I'm having a great time." And then he replied back.
So it pissed me off. I said, makes sense that during the flood scare they would ramp up the good feels.
And then I replied back. I said, this trip was organized like 6 months ago. It was organized before the flooding, but even during the time of scheduling, it was trying to decide a time beyond the flooding time. But the plan to go to Chongqing was very long. Like the initial plan where Alex went and started discussing this whole project with iChongqing. Whatever. He says, well, it went back and forth. Here, I'll show you the tweets. The interesting thing is that he refers to some pictures that we took at the peak of the third gorge. There's a Three Gorges peak. And Chongqing took us there.
They also filmed fantastic, drone footage of the Chongqing Three Gorges Dam scenic spot, is what it said.
Says it's the Chongqing Three Gorges Dam scenic spot. And he referred to, on multiple occasions, that Chongqing is responsible for the dam.
And the Three Gorges Dam is one of the main reasons why they were being flooded, right? Because this particular place was responsible for a lot of hardship down there.
The dam is just down the river.
So this is when the floods were still in full force. This is when people were still being affected big time, just a little bit downstream.
And they're going to Chongqing during all of this flooding, and Chongqing is one of the responsible parties for all of this flooding, and he was saying that they're part of this whole dam, Three Gorges Dam. And that Matt and his friends, he didn't mention my name, but basically, it's very easy to see. There's only so many of us going to Chongqing. Matt and his friends, basically, are taking pictures of the quote-unquote Chongqing Three Gorges Dam scenic spot.
The Chongqing Three Gorges Dam scenic spot is what it said.
Well, there is a Three Gorges Dam scenic spot, but it's in a different province. There is no Chongqing Three Gorges Dam scenic spot. There is a Chongqing Three Gorges. Like, the Three Gorges begins in Chongqing. It's a very, very long geographical feature. It's a huge gorge. It's one of the reasons they built the dam in the first place, is that there was this enormous gorge that could accept all of this water. And it stretches on for hundreds of kilometers. Hundreds. The first of which is in Chongqing. The last of which resides just before the dam, hundreds and hundreds of kilometers from that picture that we took on the peak of the third gorge. So the third gorge scenic spot he labels as a dam. And so he's trying to build this narrative that just outside of Chongqing is this dam that's holding all these floodwaters and releasing them on communities downstream. And how dare we go and take pictures and talk about how nice Chongqing is. The Three Gorges Dam is not in Chongqing. And just to give you an idea, the picture that we took in that tweet that he posts, we had to drive 4.5 hours transported to a city called SerpentZA, which is on the outreaches of Chongqing. Not to the dam yet. The dam is still a couple of 100 kilometers down the river. But we traveled all the way there to visit one, I'll give you a preview, one of the oldest temples. It's like 2,000-year-old temple that is on the top of a peak that is one of the only remaining temple structures that was left after they cleared the way for the dam. Its significance is interesting. It's also interesting to know that when you're in that temple that's really just above the water, that before the dam it was like 175 meters down from there. But today the reservoir from the Three Gorges Dam, hundreds of miles down the way, mind you, is now, almost up to the temple. But this temple is one of the remaining structures from ancient China that was left after the clearing and relocation of all the people for the dam. And so we went there, and the peak is a very, very... It's the peak that is on the Chinese money. If you look at the 10 RMB money note, you'll see that peak there. Has nothing to do with the dam, other than the water backed up from the dam, which is hundreds of miles away, which just gives you an idea of the size and epic capacity of this thing. But I digress on that. One of the reasons I bring up that we drove 4.5 hours to this place, along windy coastal roads, along the Yangtze River, is that this whole area that we went through was flooded not 2 or 3 weeks ago. Like massively flooded. Like 5 meters of water from the Yangtze's level, as it was then. 5 meters above. Banks were chalked with dirt. There were some excavators doing some sort of repairs along the way. I was prepared to show you the reality. I was not interested in sugarcoating anything. As a matter of fact, I proposed to Chongqing, hey, could you take me to some of these villages that were flooded? And they said, well, they're pretty far downriver. The flooding that we had here was all pretty well, contained and stuff. And, you're more than welcome to go by yourself. But the drive along the way did give me perspective. In fact, in the city of Chongqing, there's dirt and sediment all over the banks. Like big banks. There is a lot of construction and repair still ongoing. I videotaped it. You'll see it in the videos. I don't hide it. Just to kind of give you guys an idea of what happened with the flooding here, in the middle of July, I think, they had massive flooding. And if you can kind of get an idea, you see where this boat is sitting on the water, this entire area, you can tell, was completely submerged. I guess the water rose up a considerable distance. I mean, you can see all the sediment here from when the water kind of came up, deposited a whole bunch of junk, and then just laid it down as it went down. Must have been pretty chaotic. So here I just went down the stairs onto the waterfront, and it's quite interesting. You can kind of see where the flooding went up to. Everything basically where these stairs are, which is just about up here. I'm 6'2", about 188 centimeters, and then you extend my arm up. I think that's about where the water was. And then if you go way down below, I mean, I'm I'm a good, I don't know, 3-4 meters off the ground, so it's double that. And you can see it's very dusty. It just kind of all the mud and everything and silt in the water came up. Not only that, but it probably washed all this silt down and just sort of made a mess of this whole area. I'm sorry. I am really sorry that I wasn't able to tell the story you guys wanted me to tell. I'm telling the story from my perception. And I didn't see flooding. Now, that's not to say that there wasn't flooding going on downriver. Water's backing up, and the way that they do these dams is they take the water down, open up the floodgates, and let the water down. And then hopefully it's enough to accept all the flood water that's coming, because a lot of the water, they have fair warning that it's coming because they see rain patterns and weather patterns. And so they take all these dams down, and when they take the dams down, that's a huge release of water. And when that happened, and I don't agree with a lot of the ways that they did it, but water got flushed down and washed away a lot of villages. Horrible tragedy. I'm not discounting it. I don't know why I have to keep repeating this, but I think it's very important that I do here. Anyways, Winston says on my tweet that...
And the Three Gorges Dam is one of the main reasons why they were being flooded, right? Because that this particular place was responsible for a lot of hardship down there.
Insinuating that the Three Gorges Dam is, around the corner from Chongqing proper, when it's not. From Chongqing, it's almost 500 to 600 kilometers away. For Americans, that would be like the distance between New York City and Virginia Beach. If you're European, that would be like going from Amsterdam to Zurich, moving to a completely different country. So I'm just saying that the narrative here that they're promoting is trying to make it sound like we were there as a specific trip in order to cover up for the faults and the flooding caused by the CCP. I mean, they didn't create the rain. They tried to create infrastructure to protect from floods. I don't think it's doing what they wanted it to do. It's obvious. They wanted to contain all these floods, and they're not able to. But we were invited to Chongqing by an independent tourist agency to show some of the beauty in the city. Winston refers to me in my tweet in the podcast. He says,
they're pulling this bullshit soft power fluff propaganda and getting foreigners to go out there and say, look how great and beautiful and amazing it is, to try and divert attention away from the real life tragedy that is really affecting the people downstream.
And then he prefaces it.
Because we don't go on the attack, even though we are very often the recipients of attacks from other YouTubers. This is not our style.
This is not an attack. I don't need to keep repeating. Actions speak louder than words. He's saying he's like, he refers to me as his friend.
He is our friend.
Yeah.
This is not...
No, absolutely.
Not an attack, guys.
Don't need to keep defending. Actions speak louder than words, dude.
He's like, I'm not trying to attack my friend. Actions speak louder than words. Well, in your actions against me, you're using a fake email. You're calling me, in many ways, a white monkey. You're saying that I am partly responsible for distracting attention away from apocalyptic things that are happening in a city that's causing all the problems. And he actually really... He actually refers to an analogy. I like analogies. They're really, really useful in portraying an idea. He says,
Not saying that at all. It's just in bad taste, sort of like the government of Minneapolis, Minnesota, posting positive tourism propaganda during the protests. Saving lives is more important than saving face.
Tell that to the Chinese government.
That analogy is total fluff. Okay, so riots are going on. People are protesting. And the tourism guy is sitting there. Hey guys, I'd just like to welcome you to Minneapolis, a great shining city on the hill, or whatever. I don't think there's any hills in Minneapolis. Are there any hills? I think it's pretty flat. We went to Chongqing. The dam, 500 to 600 kilometers away. Okay, so I'm gonna actually adjust his analogy, and you tell me if this makes any more sense. Me and my friends going to Chongqing and making videos there is sort of like an advertising agency in Las Vegas posting positive tourism propaganda during protests in Los Angeles. Because Los Angeles is about 400 kilometers. Actually, the dam and the flooding... the flooding that was going on when we visited Chongqing was actually probably more like 1,000 kilometers away. It was around Wuhan. And Wuhan, from Chongqing, is a great distance. Yeah, Wuhan from Chongqing is like 800 kilometers. So it's not even exactly like that. But it's sort of like a tourism agency inviting YouTubers to Las Vegas to promote Las Vegas during protests in Los Angeles. Do you see the disconnect? I'm just calling it like it is. Because I went. I saw it with my own eyes. I'm here in China. These guys aren't. And they're free to make whatever videos they want. But I'm free to defend myself as well. He refers to, you should not talk about Chongqing in positive because Chongqing is the affected place. That is the place that's causing it, the Three Gorges Dam.
This really sucks because, you know, that is the affected place. That is what's causing it, that Three Gorges Dam.
Yeah.
So, you know, honestly, it's about timing. Why tweet this stuff out now? You can't wait till things are under control?
I did wait till it was under control. It was under control in Chongqing. It was under control in that entire area. I drove 5 hours in every direction. I took a train 5 hours to the dam where Yichang had cars that were floating down streets. I was expecting to see rebuilding done. But Chinese are pretty resilient. They got back on their feet, a lot like they did during the virus. They endured the hardship. They buckled down. And then afterwards, they got back to work. What do you want me to say? You want me to lie? Oh my God, the carnage. Holy shit. Oh my God, look at that. Oh my God, there's a dog floating down the river. Didn't happen.
Yeah, anyway, that's what I had to say. And of course, he deleted all these replies and stuff from his Twitter, which is fine. That's his prerogative.
The entire conversation is still there on Twitter. I don't use Twitter very much, but I certainly don't delete tweets. I stand by my words. And for you to suggest, without searching enough, I mean, whether you saw them or not, they're there. To refer to me deleting my tweets degrades my message, and it makes me feel like you're trying to paint me as being guilty. And so I deleted the tweets because I wouldn't want to be caught in this horrible conversation that I'm part of this whole nefarious process. But no, I did not delete the tweets. They stand on my Twitter. I don't know what to say. That alone is a weird accusation.
The fact that my friend retweeted it, like, oh, this journey's going well so far, it means that he is incredibly insensitive and it's just really the wrong time.
Or it was part of the contract.
Yeah, anyway, the thing is...
Or it was part of the contract. What was part of the contract? I saw beautiful things in Chongqing. iChongqing said, we showed him some beautiful things. I said, thanks. They were really beautiful things. How dare I? What are you talking about? I understand that you guys really want to push this narrative, this anti-CCP, all of this stuff. It's your prerogative. But come on. Is that your argument? Is this what you're rolling on? Really don't understand it.
There is a huge human tragedy, massive atrocity happening right now. So what do? Is they cart all these white monkeys, more or less, to be useful idiots for them to go, shut up, Western propaganda, stupid Western media. Everything's totally fine here, because that's exactly what transpired.
That's not what transpired. You don't even know. My videos haven't even come out yet. I talk about the flooding in it. Are we not allowed to talk about some good things? Very, very strange. They say state media tweeting about foreigners going to the Three Gorges Dam and how pretty it is. Those tweets had nothing to do with Three Gorges Dam. Had to do with the Three Gorges. Geographically, you're way, way off. If you would have read the tweets or looked at them or understood the geography of the area, you would have understood that. Anyways. And he even says,
I know that the tourism board has you guys all on a big promo trip. I have the invitation email.
And there you go. You know, obviously he didn't. As a matter of fact, on that email that he posts, the picture, you can't see the header. You can't see the reply line. You can't see the time and date. You just see the body. And then what is really telling is at about the 45-minute mark of their podcast, Winston starts to speak about the virus in the USA. He claims that it's vastly overblown, that people in China are misreporting and misunderstanding the severity of how lives are affected in the United States. He says that they misunderstand. He's talking about like his in-laws, basically, and how they're sending him messages about how horrible America is from the clips that they've seen in the news. There's things on fire, there's businesses boarded up and all of this. And he actually goes and kind of discredits his whole argument and says if they were to see it for themselves with their own eyes, they would know it's not so bad here. Well, I say to you guys the same way. If you could have come with your own eyes, maybe your opinion would be different too. But you're relying on a lot of the media that's coming out. And I'm not saying that media isn't true. There is flooding. There is human tragedy. Flooding is happening all over Southeast Asia. Flooding happens all over the world. Everywhere it happens, it's bad. I don't think there's a good flood. Anyways. Mind you, where he's at complaining about the troubles that China is dealing with regards to this flood, he's in a country, my home country, that's bumbling their way through a extremely deadly virus situation. I mean, far from where it started is how it's been managed. And don't you have enough fodder to talk about? If you really want to call out injustices, there's like 170,000 people that are dead in America right now. There's millions upon millions upon millions who are infected with a virus that who knows what's going to happen down the road. You know, it could be debilitating, you know, to the people that even got it. It's that's a human tragedy too. Anyways, you can watch their episode. I encourage you to, with an open mind and with the context that I give you, that the things they referenced in that video were outright false, faked in many ways, and in many ways misinterpreted. I was there. I have a bunch of videos coming out about Chongqing. I hope you enjoy them. But this is really odd. I have never attacked or called out either of those guys. I've been asked to. People in the comment section have asked me, why don't you, talk bad about them? And that's not my MO. I judge people by the interactions I have with them. And that's all any of us can do. And let me just talk a little bit about Lee Barrett and his son Oli. I was able to spend some time with them. Good guys, nice guys. We differ in opinion on a few things. They're not what I think people think they are. There's this whole, everybody wants to grab onto conspiracy, and they want to dig, and they want to hate, and they want to castigate people, and they want to get on their high horse, jump on their soapbox. And I got to tell you what, guys, that's not healthy. It's not good. If you don't like what Lee Barrett says, don't watch his videos. If you don't like what I say, don't watch my videos. I'm not paying anybody to watch my videos. But I'm also not creating lies about specific people. I'm making, opinions based on my perception. And why wouldn't I go to Chongqing, as it is far from the flooding at the time, take an opportunity to see an amazing city in China, talk a little bit about it. It's like spinning something that is ambiguous into a conspiracy, and I think there's a lot of that going on in the world. And we need to really be careful, because I fear for some of the future. I think that we've become so anti-science, so anti, sort of anti-intellectual. I will always defer to a scientist to tell me, something factual. No matter how much data I read on YouTube or whatnot, I will always try to defer to the professionals. But I think we all feel too empowered because we have so much information at our fingertips. And that's great. But it also has some negative connotations. People become a bit too confident and think that they know everything about everything. That is something I certainly will never say. Anyways, this is a very long video. It required to be made. We went to Chongqing. It's been an amazing journey. I spent time with Lee and Oli. We ate some fish. You saw some of that already in the dam videos. I spent a lot of time with Alex Absolute and my friend Jim, the photographer. We had a good time in Chongqing. I'm not ashamed to say that. Let me just throw out an analogy just to try to understand. In America, the virus, whether you know it or not, is spreading crazily. A lot of people are dying. Enormous numbers. Whether you know somebody that's died or not, people are dying. Lots and lots and lots of people. Multiples and multiples of 9/11s. If the logic that Winston says is that anybody that goes out and makes positive videos during a time of strife anywhere in the country, it's trying to distract from the tragedy that's going on. And we need to focus on the tragedy. We need to focus on the human suffering, damn it. Then you better go to every tourism department in all of America, to every YouTube channel in all of America, and anybody that says positive stuff about cities, I gotta imagine they're going to be pushing to try to get back to normal. They're going to be inviting celebrities. They're going to be trying to paint places as safe and good. And hey, you know what? We have some positives here. Hey, you know what? We haven't had a virus here in a while. Look at how clean our city is. Hey, you know, according to Winston and Matt's logic, that is unacceptable. And I would hope that Winston and Matt, you guys go on the tirade a little bit because you're living in America now. And that's the crisis in America now. And if that's your MO to right injustices, and that's your idea of an injustice, talking positive about a place that is in a country that's having something tragic happening, then I think you got your work cut out for you. Again, this is not meant to be a hit piece. I am angry. I don't like to get angry, but it deserves a rebuke. So, watch my videos. It wasn't what some people think it is. It was simply an amazing trip to an amazing city, and it was during a time where other parts of China are going through some tough stuff with flooding, and I would be more than happy to go to those places and tell the story of those places. If you guys know anybody in any of those villages or somebody that could take a tour, I know that the Anhui province has some as well, flooding in some of the valleys there. Let's go. I'm willing to tell the story. Shame on you guys for painting me in the light that you did. It's really fucked up.